I have to put this here first, my brothers and sisters. What you're about to hear will shock you. Not all prophets are from God. Some have sold their souls to the marine kingdom, exchanging their anointing for power, fame, and fortune. But what happens when the spirits come to collect? This is the chilling confession of a once powerful pastor who went too far. He followed the rituals. He performed the sacrifices. But when the spirits demanded the ultimate price, his own mother's life, he could not escape. He paid the price for power. Now, he is revealing the dark truth behind the pulpit. Stay with me till the end, because what you will hear today will make you question everything you know about some of these so-called men of God. Welcome to Dangerous African Confessions HD, where the hidden is exposed.
I was just a young man with a fire for ministry. From childhood, I had always admired great men of God, those who commanded large crowds, performed miracles, and spoke with divine authority. I wanted that power. I wanted that influence. But I soon learned that in the world of prophetic ministry, not everything is as it seems. To start, you should know that my journey into ministry started in a small African church where I served under a senior prophet. He was well respected, a man whose prophecies never seemed to fail. I watched how people flocked to him, desperate for healings, miracles, and breakthroughs. I admired him, but what I did not know was that behind the pulpit, there were secrets hidden from the congregation, secrets that would later consume my soul. At first, my ministry struggled. I fasted, I prayed, I spent nights crying out to God, yet my church remained small. People came but did not stay. Offerings were barely enough to keep the lights on. I saw other young pastors rising overnight, commanding massive crowds, buying luxurious cars, and traveling the world. I couldn't understand why God wasn't answering me the same way. So, one day, after a church conference, I gathered the courage to ask my senior prophet, what is the secret? I expected him to tell me about deeper fasting, longer prayer, or some hidden scriptures, but instead, he smiled knowingly and said, "You are not ready for that truth." I didn't understand what he meant, but that night, I couldn't sleep. My spirit was restless. Was there something more to ministry than what I had been taught? Was there a deeper power that these great men of God were tapping into? Months later, my senior prophet invited me to a private meeting. There were no church members, no cameras, just him, me, and a few other ministers. I had seen some of them on television performing miracles. They sat in a dimly lit room, speaking in hushed tones. And then, my senior prophet said the words that changed my life forever. He said, "In this world, power is not given freely. It is taken. And those who have it know what it costs." That was the moment I stepped into a world I was not prepared for, a world where the marine kingdom held the keys to supernatural power. You see, let me just go straight into the night I was introduced into this whole thing I want to talk about. You see, the night I was introduced to the marine kingdom is a night I will never forget. It was not in a church, not in a prayer room, but by the riverside, far away from the eyes of people, I mean the congregation. My senior prophet had warned me that, once you take this step, there is no turning back. That was when he asked if I was ready. And without hesitation, I said yes. My hunger for power had blinded me to the dangers ahead. We traveled in silence. It was past midnight when we arrived at a secluded river deep in the forest. A group of men in long white garments stood at the river bank, whispering in a language I did not understand. In the middle of them stood a woman, tall, beautiful, with piercing eyes that seemed to see into my soul. I later learned that she was not an ordinary woman, she was a high-ranking marine priestess, a messenger of the water spirits. The ritual began. They stripped me of my clothes and wrapped a white cloth around my waist. The priestess stepped forward, holding a black clay pot filled with strange-looking water. She dipped her fingers into it and marked my forehead, my chest, and the soles of my feet. The truth of the matter is that, whatever she told me that night, didn't matter to me. All I ever wanted was the power. She told me that, the power I seek does not come easy. She said that, it comes with a price. I nodded. I had already made up my mind, like I said. They led me into the cold water, chanting in low, melodic voices. As I stepped in, it felt as if invisible hands were pulling me deeper. Then, the priestess took a sharp blade and made a small cut on my palm. She let my blood drip into the river, mixing with the water. She said that, "This is your covenant, and from today, the river knows your name. You are one of us." As soon as my blood touched the water, a powerful force surged through me. My body trembled, my mind felt like it was being stretched beyond its limits. I saw things, visions of great crowds, money, influence. But I also saw darkness. Something had entered me that night. I had been marked. You see, my brother, after the ritual, they gave me 3 instructions. The first one is for me never speak of what happened. The first rule of the marine kingdom is silence. The second instruction is that I must return to the river every full moon for renewal. This was to maintain my connection to the spirits. Then the third one is that a sacrifice would be required. I did not understand this part fully, but I was told that in due time I would know what to do. That night, I left the river a different man. I felt powerful, energized, as if I had tapped into something beyond human understanding. After the 3rd month since I returned from the river to my church, everything changed. My prophecies became more accurate. People started falling under the anointing. Miracles happened effortlessly. My church, which had struggled for years, suddenly overflowed with members. Money poured in. My name began to spread like wildfire. I was finally the prophet I had always dreamed of being. But what I did not realize was that the marine spirits do not give anything for free. What they give, they take back with interest. My church became one of the fastest growing prophetic ministries in the city of Kumasi. People traveled from far and wide just to receive a word from me. Wealthy businessmen, politicians, and desperate seekers filled the pews, throwing money at my feet. I could sense the power within me, an invisible force that made people shake when I spoke. My words carried weight. My hands carried fire. But behind all the miracles, behind all the fame, there was a side of my anointing that the congregation never saw. The marine spirits had begun making their demands. You see, every sacrifice and rituals start small. So, at first, they started small. The voice would come to me in dreams, whispering instructions. Go back to the river. Each month, under the cover of darkness, I returned to the waters to renew my covenant. But then, the demands grew darker. One night, I had a dream. A woman with glowing eyes and a voice like 1,000 echoes appeared before me. She called me her son. She reminded me that my power was not my own, it belonged to the kingdom I had submitted to. And she said that, it is time to give back. I woke up sweating, my body trembling with fear. I knew what she meant. The sacrifice they had spoken about was due. The following Sunday, as I stood on the altar, my eyes scanned the crowd. I could feel it, the spirits guiding me towards a target. A young woman, desperate for a miracle. She was kneeling, tears streaming down her face, begging God to change her life. And then, I heard the voice again, she is the one. To tell you the truth, I fought the thought. I told myself I was imagining it. But the moment I laid my hands on her, I felt the transfer. A dark energy moved through me, and something left her body. She collapsed. People screamed, thinking it was the power of God. But I knew the truth. A transaction had taken place. Days later, I heard she had fallen mysteriously ill. Within a month, she was dead. I tried to silence my guilt. It is just coincidence, I told myself. But deep inside, I knew it wasn't. You see, more sacrifices followed. Each time, the spirits demanded more. Sometimes, it was a member of my congregation. Other times, it was someone close to me. The price for power was human lives. The most serious of all is that, I watched as fellow prophets, men I once looked up to, sacrifice their wives, their children, their closest friends just to maintain their position. My brother, the truth is that, behind closed doors, we performed rituals that would terrify the very people who called us men of God. Some of us had sacred rings, necklaces, and garments that gave us supernatural abilities. We made love to spirits in our sleep. We spoke in tongues that were not of heaven. We laid hands, not to bless, but to transfer. The pulpit was a stage, and we were merely actors. But what terrified me the most was that the spirits were never satisfied. No matter how much I gave, they always wanted more. And then, one night, everything changed. You see, my brother, for years, I had done everything they asked. I had given, I had sacrificed, I had obeyed. But the spirits do not believe in loyalty, only in ownership. They had given me power, and now, they wanted complete control. It started with the nightmares. Every night, I would see myself standing at the river, surrounded by dark figures. The priestess who initiated me would smile and say, "It is time." I did not know what she meant at first, but the fear in my chest told me that my time was running out. Then, the voices became louder. They no longer whispered in my sleep. They spoke in my waking hours. I could hear them while preaching, while praying, even while eating. "Come to us. You belong to us. It is time." I started losing control. The same spirit that once gave me power now tormented me. I could no longer prophesy with clarity. My miracles stopped working. My members noticed the change. The church that was once overflowing started to empty. Then, the physical attacks began. One night, as I stood before my mirror, my reflection did not move. I stepped back, but the image in the mirror stayed still, then changed to this dark-like figure watching me with lifeless, glowing eyes. Suddenly, I felt an invisible force wrap around my throat, choking me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. That was when I knew I had made a mistake. I tried to break free. I stopped going to the river. I fasted. I prayed. But they do not release what they own. My health deteriorated. My finances crumbled. I started to lose everything. The final blow came when I saw her again, the woman from the river, the high priestess. But this time, she was not in a dream. She was standing at the back of my almost empty church, smiling. I fell to my knees, weeping. I knew what she had come for. They had come to collect me. I know it doesn't sound right and normal to the ordinary eyes and ears. I understand that perfectly well. Let me tell you something deeper that I have hidden for all these years. If there is one thing that still eats me up to this day, one thing that I regret more than anything else, it is what I did to my own mother. For years, I had given the Marine Kingdom everything they asked for, church members, followers, even close friends. But no matter how much I sacrificed, they always wanted more. So, when the woman appeared and I had to be sacrificed or offer myself as a sacrifice, I made a plea and they listened. The Spirit spoke again. This time, it was not just whispers. It was a command. That if I wanted my life and be able to go on to do what I was doing, to rise beyond any profit, to command unlimited wealth, then I must give them someone dear to me. My own blood. You see, at first, I refused. I told myself that I had done enough, given enough. But the spirits do not take no for an answer. They made sure I had no choice. The small remains of what I had started going down again. Everything began to crumble. I lost my spiritual sight, I could no longer see visions. My prophecies became empty words. My church began to fall apart. Money stopped coming in. My body weakened. At night, I would wake up gasping for breath, as if something was strangling me in my sleep. Then came the final warning. One night, as I slept, I felt an unbearable pain in my chest, like knives piercing through my ribs. I could not breathe. I struggled, groaned, rolled on the floor, but the force grew stronger. Then I heard the voice, telling me that, "You know what you must do." That was when I knew, if I did not obey, they would take my life for real. For days, I wrestled with my conscience. How could I do this? My mother was the woman who gave birth to me, who prayed for me, who believed in me. She was my only real family. But I had no choice. One evening, I went to visit her. She was so happy to see me. She prepared my favorite meal and told me how proud she was of me. I forced a smile, but inside, I was dying. That night, I carried out the rituals. I used her name. I followed every instruction. I performed every sacrifice. By morning, my mother fell sick. It started as a small fever, then worsened. Doctors could not explain it. No matter what medication she took, she got worse. My brother, within a week, she was gone. I stood by her grave, numb. People cried around me, but I felt nothing. I had done what they asked. I had given them my own blood. And that was the moment I realized I had lost my soul. I had gone too far. There was no turning back. You see, the most painful aspect of even sacrificing my mother, the spirit still wanted more. To be honest, I am never a proud person for what I have done in this life of mine. From moving from having a decent ministry to having to reach the level I got through the dark means. I will say this, that I was once a man of God. I was once anointed. I was once a prophet. But I traded my soul for power, and in the end, the marine kingdom always takes back what it gives. If you are reading this, let my story be a warning. Not all power comes from God. And every gift that is not from Him has a price.
You have heard the truth. You have seen the dark side of false prophets. The marine kingdom is real. The sacrifices are real. And many people sitting in churches today have no idea what is happening behind the scenes. This is a warning to all believers: beware of false prophets. Many are not sent by God, but by dark forces. They perform miracles, they prophesy, but their power does not come from the Almighty. If you've learned something from this story, share it. Let others know the truth before they fall into deception. What are your thoughts on this shocking confession? Comment below. If this video opened your eyes, like, share and subscribe to Dangerous African Confessions HD for more raw and unfiltered confessions. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next powerful revelation.